Hello game makers, my name is Alex, also known as Robert. This video marks the triumphant return of the GameMaker subreddit monthly challenge. This is challenge number 33 for October 2019. So for this challenge, we wanted our users to make a small game or demo where you can place down objects while playing. It's kind of inspired by Super Mario Maker 2. In that game, you can obviously place down blocks and enemies and stuff, and then you can play through your level. And that's what we wanted our users to do. We wanted our users to have a game or a demo or something where you can dynamically add stuff to it. And it doesn't have to be actual objects. It could be sprites or tiles or anything, just as long as you can have the user modify or change the game while they are playing. So functions such as instance create layer, or the tile set, tile map functions, where we're gonna come into play basically. So for my game, my little demo that I made for this challenge, I basically made a poor man's Super Mario Maker. Basically, I figured, what the hell, might as well. I like Mario. I have these Mario sprites already ripped. Might as well put them to good use. So as you can see here, I have, of course, my tiles as a sprite right here, and of course then I use this sprite sheet or this sprite asset to create my tile set, which I of course then set its properties. My tiles are 16 by 16. I made two basic little animations here, the bush and the spike. Very easy to make in GameMaker 2. Now, even though I have a bunch of objects, I'm just going to focus on my object maker object. However, actually, before we go through the code, let's go ahead and run the game real fast so we know what we're dealing with. Let's go ahead and make the window a little bigger here, like so. So I have my little Mario character. I have my ground. You can run, you can jump, you can duck. All very cool. Now, if I press the enter key on my keyboard, I go ahead and create a block bar at the top, and then I have a little block selected, and it automatically follows my cursor. And I can place it down on a grid anywhere I want. Now, when I'm left clicking, I'm creating two things. I'm creating a tile and placing it on the tile map. And for the case of these mushroom blocks, I'm creating an invisible collision object so that Mario can actually collide with these tiles, right? Because normally a tile you can't collide with without using special code. So I just created an invisible, collidable, solid object. And if I go back to enter, pressing the different number keys lets me select a different type of block. I got my rocks, and then I got, I got these blue platform things. And then I have these animated plant things, which you can't collide with, but they're pretty to look at. And then I have a little bridge thing. I have a background tile of a cloud to make it prettier. And then I have this little tree object, which when you place, automatically checks for tiles underneath. And if there's no tile underneath, it'll automatically create a tree trunk all the way until it detects a tile. And then I'm doing something kind of similar with this. This is a solid cloud block, which automatically places two other cloud tiles next to it for a 3 wide little cloud platform. And if I press enter again, I'll get Mario. And now Mario, of course, collides with these objects, but not with the trees, not with the plants. The spikes do nothing. And so there you go. These objects and tiles weren't there before, and now they are. Cool. One last thing, I can right click anywhere and it'll delete the solid object and the tile, so that I can go ahead and create and destroy at will. Oh, did you see that? It didn't delete that solid object. Right click, right click, right click, right click, right click. There we go. That was weird. Clearly some bugs exist still. However, let's go ahead and go in the code, because I think you should still be able to learn something from this. So I have this object maker object, and I'm not gonna go too crazy into detail here, but suffice it to say, I have my game modes in an enum, and then I have my different block types. I'm giving each block type the tile ID, right? So my mushroom block tile is the 10th tile, my spikes is the 45th tile, so on, so on. You can actually calculate that just by looking at your tile set. And you can count, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the door. And then 18 is the bottom half. And then 27 is this. And the plants are 36 and whatnot. So you can determine the ID of each cell of each tile in your tile map. So that's what I'm doing with these enums, so that I don't have to worry about names or about these tile IDs. Instead, I just type in the spikes enum, and it'll automatically know that that's tile number 45. And then I'm defining some basic UI stuff for the block bar for its placement. And then over here, I'm defining again, I'm placing all my objects in an array so that I can iterate through them later. And I'm defining if they're solid or not by using this little solid block array. So everything's solid except for like the plant and the background cloud, basically, and the tree. The initial block that I start off with is the mushroom block. My draw GUI, of course, draws the block bar up here. I'm drawing a black background for better visibility, and then of course I'm iterating through all my blocks, which is placeable blocks. I actually have some metadata in my enum, which is common practice to have some metadata here. How many blocks do I want the user to, how many different blocks do I want to have in my block bar? 9. So I just place that at the bottom of my enum, give it to 9, and so now I can iterate through that thing 9 times and place all my blocks in my block bar. In the regular draw event, I of course am drawing the actual cursor with the tile. It's not a GUI thing because it needs to exist in the actual room. So I'm using the regular draw event. And then in the step event, a lot of the magic is happening. Of course, hitting the enter key changes me from make to play. When I go into make mode, I obviously make my character invisible, and then I make him visible again when I'm playing. And then right here, I'm just naively checking for all the number keys, 1 through 9, depending on what I press. That's what the current selected block is. Then when I'm in actual game, when I'm in actual make mode, I am moving the player to where the mouse is. That way I can spawn him wherever I want. Kind of simulating what you can do in Mario Maker, where you can move Mario around. And then I'm checking, okay, if I'm pressing the left mouse key, I'm going to go ahead and get the layer of my tiles. And then once I get the layer ID, I'm going to get the ID of the tile map. Once I have the ID of the tile map, then I can start manipulating it. And in this case, I'm going to add to it or set it to something. So in this case, I'm getting the map ID and I'm setting whatever block I have selected from up here, and I'm placing it in the tile map. Now, of course, tile maps are, they don't use the regular XY coordinates. They use cell coordinates. And my cells are of size 16 by 16. So all you gotta do is divide your mouse X and Y coordinates by 16, and you'll get the cell location of where you want to put your block or where you want to put your tile. That works out real nicely. Of course, then I'm checking, okay, if is the tile that I just placed representative of a solid object? If it is, then I'm going to go ahead and create an object wall in my instances layer, or of course all my objects reside, and they of course use normal coordinates, so I have to take those mouse coordinates and multiply them back by 16. This is going to ensure dividing by 16 and then multiplying by 16 may look weird, but it ensures that everything stays within a 16 by 16 grid. Everything stays aligned. And that's basically the two main functions that make everything work. Tile map set lets you set a tile in your room, and then of course instance create layer lets you create an object in your room, and that's all I'm doing. Creating the tile and the object. Boom. And then over here I'm just doing some special cases. If I'm doing the tree, then I'm going to checking under so that I can place the tree trunk. And then if I'm placing that cloud platform, I'm placing a cloud to the right and to the left of the tile that I just placed so that I could have that 3 wide cloud floor. And then of course, if I right click anywhere, I go ahead and set the tile to my empty tile, which is an empty tile, the very first tile. So that it essentially deletes whatever tile is there. And if there is a object there, a wall object, it goes ahead and destroys it. That's what this instance position command does. Give it a coordinate. Is there an object there? Yes. Or whatever object is there, it destroys it. And then the check under just checks the tree if there's a empty tile underneath. And that's all it is. Pretty powerful functions those are. The tile map set and instance create. That's how you can dynamically add stuff to your game, right? Instead of placing your objects and your tiles in the room editor, right? Always. See, this is my room. It's just empty. Instead of always having to drag in your objects and placing them in there, manually, instead you use the code. Through code, you use these functions, and you can create stuff dynamically while the game is running through user input. And it makes your game a lot more interactive and a lot more fun and opens up a whole bunch of options. So yeah, there you have it. That's my little game. Hopefully you guys can make something that helps you learn about these functions and helps you make a fun thing. And like I said, the challenge doesn't ask people to make games. Some people think that you have to make a whole game. You do not have to make a whole game. In fact, you don't even have to make a demo. You can just write the code. It could even be pseudocode, to be honest, although this is a GameMaker subreddit, so it should be, a little more GameMaker-y than just pseudocode. But if you really don't have the time, but still want to participate, you can just write pseudocode or whatever. A super little demo thing. You don't have to share it with anybody. Just something to show off your skills and hopefully show that you learned something. Anyways, that's the monthly challenge for number 33. Hopefully there'll be another challenge in November. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and check out the subreddit, which is of course linked in the description. Hope to see you guys there. And thanks for watching.